We're back. This new stuff, this new technology, we're learning it as we go. But we are back. It is PB&J. It's the second week for you, third week for us, because we have a lost episode. But we are back, Bishop, Pastor. We just left Nineveh.
Yeah, where are we going next?
We're going back to the start of it all. And no, I don't mean the garden, because I don't want to talk about Adam and Eve.
Okay.
I don't relate to them. I mean, I guess I am related to them, but nonetheless, Pastor, we are going to talk about today the father of faith.
Oh, Abraham.
Yes, and his wife Sarai. There's a lot to cover about Abraham, okay? And I'm actually only going to specifically cover two instances
out of 100 and some odd years of living
of what he did. Now, for those of you who don't know, Abraham is, like I said, the father of faith. Okay, he was the man that God made a covenant with after Adam and Eve and Noah and all those things. His name was Abram. Okay, he lived in the land where they did witchcraft and all that fun stuff. All the stuff that, I mean,
of the Chaldees.
Yes, and they loved it out there. It was great. Life was good. And then one day,
at 75 years old,
God told him, "Hey, I'm gonna need you to leave all that behind, if you don't mind. And then just bring you and your wife. Come on out. You see all these stars? Yeah, that's how many generations you're gonna have. You see all this sand? Can't even count it. That's how many kids you're gonna have." And well, we have cute songs like Father Abraham and his many sons. His many sons had Father Abraham.
I'm one of them, and so are you.
Abram had quite the journey to get to where he's going. At first, it was just him and his wife. And then he made a deal with God to bring his nephew.
No, he didn't make a deal with God to bring his nephew.
Somebody had to.
No. What happened was he said, "Leave your family," and he left his family and took Lot with him.
Yeah. So disobedience number one. And we know what Lot did and what Lot is, and we're not talking about Lot today. But let me just tell you,
that's just a lot.
Just make sure you teach your kids about how to procreate and that there are other people in the world. That's all I'm going to say about it. We'll move on. Abram then lied to some kings about his relationship with his wife to make sure he didn't get murdered, as if God couldn't protect him. That's what witchcraft does to you.
Yeah, but how would he know? See, we look at him and we want to judge him. Well, why does he do that?
What's the name of the series?
I know, but a little grace.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the God of the universe can't save you from King Nebuchadnezzar's great grandfather.
How would he know?
Sure.
He was. Okay. We see the whole story. There was no story while he was doing this. He was writing the story.
Okay. I mean, the flood. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. I'm just God had already done some things.
Okay, but
God had already done. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
I hear what you're saying.
But here's what I'm going to.
Here's a month.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
God has done some things, and we have the whole book, and yet why do we still do the things we do?
Oh,
see. So
all right. Anyway, outside of that,
okay.
Abraham with that to protect himself, as we will get very soon. We're about to end up the first part of our story. But Abraham was promised a son, a seed to then build these multiple generations out of. And Sarai laughed. She said, "This thing's been barren for quite some time. And you may think, hey, Justice, this is the Bible. She didn't say that, and you're right. She didn't say exactly like that. For those of you who are married, you know exactly how she said it to Abram. And as she laughed, Abram, tried to keep the faith. But Abram fell into a trap many of our mighty heroes in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, fall into. And that's temptation and lust. Now you're thinking, how? How could the father of faith do that? And Bishop, you'd be asking the question. But Abram had quite a bit of wealth, as Lot took most of it. And but Abram was a very wealthy man, and wealthy people don't do things for themselves. They have maids and servants. And back then, sometimes these servants and maids were used to help with certain things. And so Sarah said, look, I'm tired of trying. I'm almost 90 years old. I'm done. It's been a good run. But my servant, she would love to have a baby. So she then gave Hagar, her servant, over to Abram to be married, correct?
Hmm.
They got married, and Abram consummated that marriage. And that's where we're going to start right now, Pastor. So this is an easy one to judge right off the bat. And I know I could have went to the Egypt thing and lied, and Bishop kind of gave you a bonus. Judge me not. But uh, Pastor, this where God gave a direct word. I'm
Okay.
going to do that.
Okay.
Now, what we like to do, pretend like we don't sit there and try to help God because we want it to fit our timeline. That comes from financial things. I believe God's going to pay my bills, but let me take out 6 loans, work 7 jobs, and maybe possibly pay that bill before I splurge on something else. So Abram had the faith, I believe. Sarai lacked it a little bit, which is fine. But in her lack, she was disobedient. It's the second time I've said that word this month. And she went against God. Now, some people, because as pastor, I do research these things before I come talk to you about them. I know it doesn't feel like that when I make those long.
Yeah. So yeah.
But some people believe that this is almost another direct. Adam knew better, Abram knew better, and here's Eve, Sarai with an apple, and they just couldn't help but bite. And so Abram does what his wife asked. I think he's been a good husband. He's also writing the book on husbandry. Well, I should do this. The faith one. Lays down with a younger woman. That younger woman, obviously, much more fertile than the 90-year-old Sarai. They have a baby. Now, that baby is named Ishmael. Now, this is where we get a lot of the holy wars that happened many years later. This is where a lot of people believe that some of these rival tribes come from that David fights and that all these great kings fight, and that really kind of just harassed the children of Israel, which we're getting to them. I promise. I know you guys are all in anticipation for us talking about them, but this isn't about Ishmael. We talked about that in November about his laws and how it connects to him, and he's not the child of the promise, but he is under the promise because he is a child of Abraham, and all those things. But Pastor, we like to pretend that we've never done anything like Sarai and Abraham had done in the past. So to give them some context, Genesis 16, it's the 16th book of the second book of the Bible because Job was first. It says, verse 1, now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian. Okay, doesn't matter. Whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram, because he, doing his best, he said, for sure, a younger woman? Absolutely. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. That is just a beautiful, elegant way of saying that they did that. I want that to be said. Thank you, NIV, for just making it such a beautiful way of saying that. And then when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maiden to thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judged me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. So, it's kind of tough when you sin, and then the sin stares right back at you. And so I learned that firsthand. And Abram, he kind of did a hands off. He said, I just did what I was told, which is what Adam did as well in the garden. And then, of course, her guilt became wrapped with Hagar, which Hagar also was to do what she was told. She really didn't have any say. She was a servant. So in verse 7 of the angel of the Lord found her by a mountain of the water. This is Hagar. And Shur, and said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou? This is King James. I'm really reading it right now. She said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, return, mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered by multitude. Okay, numbered for multitude. So basically, she gets a remnant of the blessing that Abram got because of what had happened to her. Her name, the something was Ishmael, and
He was a prolific hunter.
he was a beast. Also, the reason that we have, the Muslims. So, what you do with that as you will. I got to get back to NIV though. Got to get back to it. I might start crying, trying to read that, Pastor. So that was what happened.
Okay.
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 The lesson there is that when we are disobedient, and then our consequences come, we like to pretend like it only happens to other people. But then when it happens to us, we get mad. We shut people out. We shut people off. We shut family, friends, all that stuff. You're no better than Sarah, is my point. That's my point. In all seriousness, though, Pastor, any kind of thoughts on my take there on what's going on?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts, but we don't have that kind of time.
No, just give us a couple. We got some time.
No. We'll say this. The tendency that Sarah had to think that, well, God couldn't use me because, there's nothing impossible with God.
Amen.
And we need to remember that, the things that we may use to discount ourselves for being worthy of the blessing or being worthy of being used by God, God don't even see those things because he goes, and, or so, and, if you read the book of Hebrews 11 will tell you that Sarah, through faith, received strength to conceive. So you were right. She didn't think she could do it, but then, her faith got ignited and God got in there and worked with her, and boom. Not only that, but she, if she had him at 90, I think she was 130 when she died. So she actually managed to raise and rear
to Sarai, who then becomes Sarah after that scenario, and Abram becomes Abraham. And Pastor, one thing that we're going to do is we're going to use Abraham here to bring up another point.
Okay.
I know I mentioned earlier, and I said we're going to talk about him, but we are Lot. Okay, now Lot is the nephew of Abram. Okay, he didn't get a new name; he's just Lot. And him and his wife and his two daughters lived in a couple towns called Sodom and Gomorrah. Some of you radical Christians use that as a way to attack a whole generation of people, and those of you who are less radical use it the same way, but just quietly. And so in Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham did that, and it did not go well. I believe actually it probably started higher than 10, but 10 is just a good way.
It started at 50, and he finally got it down to 10. And, because he kind of figured surely there were 10 people within the city. And it turned out not to be the case, and God in his mercy delivered Lot and his family anyway.
So after all that failed, God sent just two of his angels. Nobody knows which two.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't, because I can tell. If it was the two angels that you knew, that you know so well, Sodom and Gomorrah would have lasted as long as it does in this 19th chapter of Genesis. So it's that being said, these angels come down. The men of Sodom and Gomorrah were excited, I'll say, elated to see these beautiful angels.
They didn't know they were angels.
Doesn't matter. That's still not the point of the story. And they try to do lots of people things. And then Lot, because Lot was just such a good man of faith, like his uncle, said, "You guys want virgins? I got two of them. Who wants them?" And the city said, "How about you, Lot?" And Lot said, "I'm just kidding. So the angels told Lot and his wife and two daughters to leave and do not turn back. And then this is one of the most, judged things in the Bible is Lot's wife couldn't help it but had to take a peek. She spent a lot of money on that. What did she do? She spent a lot of money on the renovations in Sodom and Gomorrah. had to look back at her work, and unfortunately, she turned into a pillar of salt. And that's where I'm going to stop because the story gets even crazier from there. But you can read it, Genesis 19. You can read it all for yourself. Pastor, what I want to talk about though is the fact that she turned back. Now we like to say, "Ha ha, you're a pillar of salt now," Lot's wife, but that's just cruel.
It is.
Not only did Lot lose his wife, but their two daughters lost their mother. And, we have more sympathy for those on Grey's Anatomy that had that loss than we do for Lot and his two daughters. But, Pastor, the real thing that we shouldn't judge is looking back, because there's not a person that's listening to me right now, including you, Pastor. Even if you don't want to say it on here, because again, you haven't always been the beast that you are today. That we haven't looked back at times of things that we have sacrificed or that we have been asked to give
Oh,
up.
no doubt about it.
Yeah. But sometimes I think we kind of also realize that we get kind of stuck in a pillar of salt kind of a situation.
Well, but here's the pillar of salt is not the issue. The issue is that of obedience.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look back. There's multiple reasons why she shouldn't have done that. But when she did, consequences came.
Yeah.
And we need to realize that sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time when we disobey God, there are going to be consequences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, but we get stuck in, I think, a pillar of salt kind of a way, because I have to imagine that when she turned around and she felt her feet get hard, and then her legs, and then her arms, and then I like to imagine it wasn't just a straight zap into salt. She probably was stuck looking back. I think in most of the illustrations of her continuing to look back at Sodom and Gomorrah as the brimstone falls from the sky. And but we get stuck like that, and we get stuck in looking at our sin and just staring at it. When God's trying to get us to keep coming, pushing,
Mm-hmm.
we just have to stop it and look and just, and I don't want to say fiend because that sounds so aggressive, but like want and desire that old life sometimes. It's easier. It's easier to sit. It's easier. One of the quotes that I love, it's easy to do it, or it's hard to do it. Nope. It's easy to do it your way. It's hard to do it God's way. And the reason that is because you have to give sacrifice. You have to give things up. You have to have a moral compass that doesn't always align with your moral compass. And it can be tough to do that. But I don't want to be a pillar of salt, and I know you don't want to either. But we can't judge Lot's wife or Sarai, who also.
No, we shouldn't judge anybody, because we all have the same tendencies to do the same things. And many of us have, done what they did, or even worse.
Yeah. The silver life of this whole thing, though, is that Abraham does have a child. Okay, Isaac. Then he tries to sacrifice that child under the direction of God to show his faith, and then God provides a ram, and then Isaac gives birth to Esau and Jacob, and then Jacob obviously gives us birth to the 12 tribes of Israel, and then there's a coat.
And the beat goes on.
And then there's a coat, and then we're back in Egypt again, and then we're almost to the children of Israel, I promise. We're almost there. But guys, the main message of this one of not judging is that let's not judge those who are being brought out of their sin, as they may have some of that resistance to completely give themselves to the path that God is laying out for them.
Yeah.
And rather than laughing at the pillar of salt, take the pillar of salt by its hand and harden not its heart, but lead it to where you are, rather than trying to mock where you have been. Bishop, any other thoughts there before we wrap this up?
None from me.
All right. Well,
I can't wait to see where we go after this.
Didn't tell you. We're going to King David next week.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. Solomon's dad. So we get to find out how Solomon got so jacked up. That's no laugh. Genesis 8, I think 9 maybe to like Genesis 23, I think is the Abraham story. So maybe a little further than that. There's a lot of books in Genesis, or chapters, I'm sorry, in Genesis. But read the Abraham story from front to back, and take your time reading it. There's a lot of great stuff in there about faith, a lot of great showing.
And send them any questions that you have.
And yeah, don't ask me any questions about Abraham.
No, that's send them to you. You didn't say
Yeah,
you had to answer 'em.
well, yeah, that's true. I guess we don't have to answer 'em, um, but until next time, go and grow with purpose. Peace.